So now we go to the purpose of your world of experience. Now the world has no independent purpose. Your world of experience, the purpose is whatever meaning, value, or purpose you assign to it, based on what you believe you know, based on your conditioning, your programming, your education. So your world of experience has no independent purpose. Whatever purpose it has is assigned by you. So now we're realizing that we're no longer a victim of the world. We play a role in the creation of our experience of the world based on what we believe we know. So now we can assign a purpose to the world because there is no purpose. Whatever purpose the world of experience has for you was assigned by you. So when you have these contracted ego experiences, the loss of peace, love, and contentment and well-being, the contracted ego experience, when you're experiencing that, you can say that the purpose of this experience and my whole world of experience is to remind me who I am. So now your whole world of experience, every thought that you have, every emotion you have, every sensation of the body, every relationship, everything that's happening there in Herb's world of experience has one purpose. Whether you're experiencing expansiveness or the contracted ego sense, whether you're experiencing happiness or sadness, every moment of experience has one purpose. It's to remind you who you are. So this is the purpose of your world of experience. So what you're experiencing right here, right now, has one purpose. It's to remind you who you are. This is the purpose of your world of experience. So you're hearing these words now. What's the purpose of hearing these words? It's to remind you who you are. So now the world has one purpose. It doesn't have 10 purposes. It doesn't have 1,000,000 purposes. It has one. Whether you're laughing or crying, whether you're experiencing an expanded consciousness and peace and love and contentment, or a contracted ego, fear, anxiety experience, all experience has one purpose, to remind you who you are. I am infinite, eternal, universal life. Thank you for reminding me. This is the purpose of the world, is to facilitate self-realization, self-knowledge. This is the purpose of the world, is to remind you who you are. I am infinite, eternal, universal life. Thank you for reminding me. Because the world has one purpose that you assign, because the world has no purpose. Apart from the meaning, the value, and the purpose you assign. This is the power of your mind. Your mind creates your world of experience based on what you believe you are. You experience what you believe you are. You are not a victim of the world. You are the creator of your world of experience based on what you believe you know. So then what happens more and more as we're reminded, and you can't help but be reminded because every moment you are experiencing something. Every moment you're awake, you're experiencing something. You're either laughing or crying, or you're bored. You're happy or sad. You're experiencing peace or anxiety. You're experiencing oneness and unity and expansiveness, or you're experiencing the contracted experience of ego. Every moment you're experiencing something. So every moment of experience is a reflection. It's reflecting back to you and reminding you what you believe you are. This is the purpose of the world of experience. Every moment will remind you, who am I? Now, most of the belief in who I am, over the years it's become unconscious. It's so deeply programmed and conditioned into our experience, into our mind, that we're not even aware of what I believe I am. We may hear a teaching like this and say, yes, I know I am infinite, eternal, universal life, but it's not my experience moment to moment. You will experience moment to moment what you unconsciously believe you are. So when you're experiencing separation, anxiety, fear, pain, and suffering, that experience tells you that unconsciously you believe you're separate. I am a separate, independent entity. I am not infinite, eternal, universal life. So you say, thank you for reminding me of my mistaken identity. I am experiencing pain and suffering right now. What do I do with this experience? The experience of pain and suffering has one purpose: to reflect back to you what you believe you are. Who am I? So when you're experiencing pain, separation, and suffering, you say, thank you. I am infinite, eternal, universal life. And now your unconscious beliefs are being reprogrammed. The old programmed and conditioned identity of being a separate self is rising into consciousness because you're experiencing pain and suffering. So you say, thank you for coming into consciousness where I can correct my identity, shift my identity. So this is the purpose of suffering: to bring the mistaken identity, which was unconscious, into consciousness in whatever form. Mostly pain and suffering is the best reminder. It's the greatest motivator. So the pain and suffering and the separation arises into consciousness, and you say, what's the purpose of this pain and suffering? Should I think happy thoughts? Or should I go to the core of this thing and completely uproot it? Because this pain and suffering is a projection of my unconscious belief in separation. So as the pain and suffering arises, the experience of pain and suffering has one purpose. It's to remind me who I am. Am I a separate, independent person, subject to birth, suffering, and death, or am I infinite, eternal, universal life? Thank you for reminding me. So this makes it so much easier to live your life, because every moment of experience is naturally reminding you of who you are. So over time, the identity with the infinite eternal becomes deeper and deeper, because it goes from a conscious, intellectual, rational understanding into a deeper mental and emotional understanding, and it goes into the unconscious or the subconscious mind, the same way that the old separate independent identity had become deeply ingrained in unconscious. Well, now the identity with the infinite eternal goes deeper and deeper into your unconscious mind, so that more and more you'll naturally experience the projection or reflection of your identity with the infinite eternal. More and more you experience a sense of peace and well-being, because the peace, love, contentment, and well-being are the reflections of your identity with the infinite, eternal, universal life. So this is the purpose of your world of experience, and you'll notice that over time your identity becomes deeper and deeper, and it also becomes more experiential. More and more you'll experience the sense of peace and well-being, because your unconscious mind is being reprogrammed naturally and spontaneously by simply having one purpose for all experience. The one purpose is to remind me I am infinite, eternal, universal life. So every time that experience arises, it reminds me I am infinite, eternal, universal life, and the experience goes deeper into your mind and body, your unconscious mind. Yes, your whole world of experience is a projection that comes out of your identity. There is no other experience. See, this is all inclusive and comprehensive. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you sense, is a projection of what you believe you are. There is nothing else. Right now you are experiencing what you believe you are. It's all your own mind that projects based on its identity. So you will only see, you will only hear and experience what you project from what you believe you are. So this is why you can be thankful for your experience, because it's telling you what you believe you are. Yeah, if you were saying, oh, I need this other person in this relationship, I need to fix him or her so that I can feel complete, it has nothing to do with him or her. I am a separate, independent person who is vulnerable, who's empty and lonely, and so I see someone who can fulfill me. Everything you experience is projected from what you believe you are. Your identity creates your world. There is no other experience. So any experience of being lonely or empty or being a victim, everything, there is no exception. Everything you're experiencing is a projection from your core belief in who you are.
I mean, of course you need elements to keep this being,
No, not even that. Nothing. I am the infinite totality. Even the slightest sense of need is from a projection of being separate from infinite, eternal, universal life. There's no experience that's projected from the identity. I am infinite, eternal, universal life. There's nothing. There's no world.
Mm-hmm. Even an idea of a world is
your identity. There's no world. See, the world has no independent existence from your identity.
Right.
Your identity is your world. The universe is projected from your identity. There is no universe, there's no world. It becomes dreamlike. Everything is a dream. See, there is no world. The world doesn't exist apart from your identity and the belief of who you are. What you're experiencing is the belief reflects back to you what you believe you are.
I feel like that's a process that's occurring more and more.
Yes, and it will occur even more now because you've heard these words, that the purpose of every moment of experience is to remind you who you are. Yeah. See, in the past, every moment of experience may have had many different purposes. You would have an experience in relationship or with your career, with your finances, or in your car, while walking. And they had all different purposes, didn't they? Mm-hmm. And you probably weren't quite sure what the purpose was, but you would assign a purpose, but it was always varied, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Now, every moment of experience, even now, every moment of experience is to facilitate self-knowledge, to remind you, to be a perfect reflection of what you believe you are. So whatever you're experiencing, you know that there's one purpose for this experience. It's to reflect back to me what I believe I am. And because most of this belief is like an iceberg, the identity, the belief in who I am is like an iceberg, 2/3 of it is below the level of consciousness. And the 1/3 you may hear in a talk like this and say, you are infinite, eternal, universal life. So that's 1/3 is in consciousness, and you say, yes, I know that, I've heard that for years, but it's not my experience. Or it's my experience sometimes, but not all the time. That's because 2/3 of your identity is below the level of consciousness, and your daily experience will trigger the unconscious belief in being a separate, independent person. So in the past, when you were experiencing pain and suffering or conflict in relationship, you had many different purposes for that experience. Now you have one. So the 2/3 of your self-identity that was below the level of consciousness now comes into consciousness because you know all experience has one purpose, to remind you who you are. So this clears out the old unconscious beliefs in a separate identity, naturally and spontaneously and effortlessly, because experience arises spontaneously and effortlessly, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
We don't do anything to create experience. It arises naturally and spontaneously. Well, now it has one purpose. It's to remind you who you are. So the 2/3 of your believed identity, which was below the level of consciousness, now rises into consciousness naturally and spontaneously. Why? Because you've given the world of experience one purpose: to reflect back to you, to remind you who you are. I am infinite, eternal, universal life. So then, rather than 1/3 of your time being aware that you are infinite, eternal, universal, then it becomes 1/2 of your time, in your experiential time. Then it becomes 2/3 of your time, and 3/4, and then, so over time, those old unconscious beliefs, and being a separate independent person, rise into consciousness naturally and spontaneously. Why? Because your experience has one purpose: to remind you of your infinite, eternal, universal self. Whereas in the past, your experiences would have many different purposes. And you probably didn't even know what the purpose was. It always varied. But now you know that every moment of experience is to facilitate self-realization. It's to remind me who I am. So that it becomes experiential, more and more my daily experience. So my identity with the infinite, eternal, universal life becomes 1/3 of my experience, then 1/2 of it, then 3/4, so that I'm more and more living and experiencing myself as infinite, eternal, universal life. What could be a better purpose than to facilitate self-knowledge? Now you know that every moment of experience is to facilitate self-realization. It's to remind me who I am.